Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We're coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We're so happy that you're part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Apple, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Stacy C Bauer, the author of Cami, Kangaroo, and Wyatt too. Before we invite Stacy in, I am so excited to let you know that this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Vooks.com, Vooks.com, Vooks.com. You know, a few months back, we had Noelle Ill into the show to celebrate her amazing picture book, If You're Scary and You Know It, published by our friends at Familias. Well, Vooks is featuring that book in their library, and their production of it is amazing. It is so much fun. Vooks combines the love, trust, and safety of children's books with the convenience of online streaming for a whole new way to experience stories with a growing library of animated storybooks that both kids and parents will love. By adding movement, sound, and narration to existing books, Vooks brings stories to life. They brought If You're Scary and You Know It to life. I have to tell you that. Encouraging the love of reading while promoting literacy, imagination, and focus for children ages 2 to 8 years old. With Vooks, children can learn, laugh, and let their imagination soar, while parents can feel good about letting their little ones enjoy quality, guilt-free screen time. And right now, Vooks is offering a free 1-year subscription to every single teacher and homeschool parent. We also have free resources to go along with some of our most beloved titles. To learn more, please go to Vooks.com. That's Vooks.com. And we also want to let you know that the Reading with Your Kids podcast will be at Kids Expo Chicagoland, February 8th and 9th at the Schaumburg Convention Center in Schaumburg, Illinois. We are so excited. We've heard so many great things about Kids Expo. There's going to be so many fantastic activities for kids and parents to experience together. It's happening February 8th and 9th. The Reading with Your Kids podcast will be letting families know what it would be like to be a guest on the podcast. And I'll also be presenting Jedley's Totally Interactive Magic Circus. Like I said, it's happening at the Schaumburg Convention Center February 8th and 9th. Come on out and meet us at Kids Expo. Joining us on the line right now from the beautiful state of Minnesota. I'm really excited about this, and all the authors that are listening to the show should be excited too. Our guest is the author of the Cami, Kangaroo, and Wyatt 2 series. She's also a very successful independent publisher. Please welcome to the show, Stacy Bauer. Stacy, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I am wonderful. I'm really excited to talk to you about Cami, Kangaroo, and Wyatt too, and also about this brand new Kickstarter program that you just launched, and also just talk to you about your experience as a self-publisher. When we first talk about your series, tell us all about Cami and Wyatt.
Sure, yeah. Cami and Wyatt are my children. So when I first started out 3 years ago, my kids are now 10 and 7. So my daughter was 7 and my son was 4. And so I wrote my first book, Cami, Kangaroo, Has Too Many Sweets. And that one was published in 2018. And that one's based on my daughter's little struggle with sneaking treats when she was 3. So when I decided to start writing the series, I wanted to choose topics that I thought would be relevant to a lot of other families, things that my kids had done that were funny, but also could teach a lesson because they have natural consequences, like my daughter ended up having cavities. So that's the first book. And then the second book I published last spring, and that one is again about my daughter having too much stuff. So her room is like a disaster area all the time, and there's consequences like she ends up losing things, or she mommy steps on Legos and hurts her feet. So that one came out last spring, and then I ended up, having a coloring book made a few months ago to go with the books, and then I ended up having it's like an activity book, with journaling and drawing and coloring and new illustrations called Cami, Wyatt and Kindness 2. And that one came out in November. And then, like you said, I'm prepping for my next hardcover book, which is going to be up for pre-order on February 4th. And that one is featuring Wyatt too. So it's Cami and Wyatt have too much screen time. And that one is, I feel like it's an area that some families also struggle with, how to, make sure your kids are not on their screens all the time or not addicted to their screens.
And that is a very, very timely topic. And there a lot of the parents are addicted to their screens too. Yes.
Yes, we sure are.
So I'm excited to talk about the Kickstarter campaign. We're living in a fantastic time right now, where publishing books, publishing music, publishing art has become much more democratic, in that we don't need the approval of a giant corporation in order to get our books or our music out to our public. We are able to, in terms of books, we're able to self-publish in a number of different ways. And doing the Kickstarter route is a super way. Talk a little bit about why you chose going the Kickstarter route, exactly what that means, and then we can talk a little bit about your particular Kickstarter in specifically.
Sure. So when I had written my first book in 2017, I didn't know what I was going to do after that. I didn't know anything about publishing books, or I thought I had to have an agent and a traditional publisher, like you mentioned, and I knew nothing about self-publishing. I'm a teacher, so I knew nothing about this world at all. I ended up meeting some people who, there's a lot of authors out there. They're very supportive. I joined a bunch of Facebook groups, and I taught myself pretty much everything about self-publishing, and I built my website and my social media and all that. And I found my illustrator, and then I found out how much it was going to cost to get this book made. I wanted a hardcover book. With the printing and the illustrations and the marketing and the editing and all of that, I figured it would be about at least $7,000 or $8,000, which I didn't have. So, I started researching and asking people, like, what do you do to kind of get this going? And in the author groups that I was on Facebook, I saw people doing posts about their Kickstarter campaigns. And I ended up, supporting or pledging up to a few of those campaigns over that summer. And I kept an eye on those campaigns and how, they were succeeding and what they were doing. And I was taking notes, and I decided, you know what? I'm just going to try this and see how it goes. So I started researching that in November. I have a blog. So I made my first blog post in November. I sent it out to my entire email contact list, which was friends and family, because I had no audience at that time. My audience was my friends and family. Mm-hmm. So, and then I invited them all to my author Facebook page and started building up that audience that way. And so the tricky thing for me, well, one of the tricky things was, what am I going to set my goal at? So Kickstarter is basically a platform where, like you said, if you have some kind of artistic endeavor, like a book or a CD or a movie or an invention or a game or anything like that, and you don't have the funding to get it kicked off the ground, you can create a project and put it on Kickstarter. And it's basically a place where people can go on there and say, wow, this looks really cool. I want to help this artist get their project off the ground. I'm going to back this project. And then in return, they will get a quote unquote reward. So the reward could be an ebook. It could be a hardcover book. It could be the movie when it comes out. It could be the game or whatever you're trying to raise money for. So I spent about 3 or 4 months researching Kickstarters and thinking of what I wanted my rewards to be, what I wanted my campaign to look like. And I decided to go for $4,000. Now with Kickstarter, if you don't make your full amount, you don't get anything. So it's a little bit stressful because usually you have anywhere from, 1 to 60 days to do it, but most people do 30 days. You don't want it to drag on too long, but you want to give yourself enough time. So I did 30 days. I launched in February because I felt like it's a good time because it's after the holidays, but it's before summer. And, I felt like it's kind of in Minnesota, February is kind of the doldrums of, we're just, everything's kind of blah around here in February. There's really no major holidays that you're going to be spending a ton of money. It's before spring break. So I kept it in February because of those reasons. And I made a 30-day campaign plan, and I contacted local media, got on TV with my daughter, and I ended up making my goal in 8 days.
Wow.
So then I know, I did not know I was shocked. I didn't expect that. So then I was like, okay, now what do? I have 22 days left. And, one of my friends, Diane, who is a very successful author, she suggested I go for a higher amount. I didn't listen because I'm naturally I'm not a risk taker by nature. And, so I was nervous I wasn't going to make it, but I wished I would have gone for more, but I didn't. So then if you make your goal, you can go for stretch goals. So you can say, hey, everybody, thanks for supporting my campaign. I already made it in 8 days. That's amazing and crazy. And I'm so grateful. Let's keep going because $4,000 didn't cover it for me. I did that amount because I was afraid I wasn't going to get anything. I needed more, I needed more for printing and all that. So I said, if we make it to 6,000, I will, everybody who backed me will get a special bookmark and a sticker. So I ordered those on Vistaprint, and I actually ended up making $6,200 with my first Kickstarter.
Wow.
That was in 2018.
Yeah, that's incredibly impressive. But one of the things that your story kind of demonstrates is something that we've said here on the podcast a lot. That being a children's author, one of the things that surprises so many authors, especially self-published authors or an author that goes with a smaller publishing house, is, when you get that first book, that author's copy in your hands, that's really great, and it's a great feeling. But when you get that in your hand, you also accept the role of chief marketing officer for your book.
Yep.
And in your case too, you're just demonstrating the fact that to make Cami and Wyatt a reality, you had to sit down and take this and look at this as a business from the start, and I don't think folks kind of understand that. They think it's, I'm an author. That means I drink coffee, I look out my window, maybe I can get a cottage in the woods where I can be alone, and I just sit at my typewriter or my laptop, and everything happens, and that's all I have to do. Well, the reality is very, very different.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, that's what I thought when I decided in 2017 to do this. I mean, it's because I've loved writing since I was a kid, and I've always wanted to get a book published, just to have it in my hands. I had no thought about making any money. I honestly wasn't even thinking about it because I was full-time teaching. I didn't really need to have this other job on the side. And so when I had written that first book, I just thought, okay, well, I want to get this published and whatever, like you said. I mean, I didn't even think about trying to sell it. Well, when I found out how much it was going to cost to get it published, then I had to start thinking about it as a business. And I've talked to so many authors who have books and they're not selling anything. And I'm like, well, you can't just sit there and expect people to flock to your door and buy your book. You actually you need to be a salesperson. You need to be a marketer. You need to be, a virtual, like a social media person. You need to run a website. You need to get on Amazon. You need to, go out and get to local stores and market your book to local stores. There's so many things. You need to reach out to local media and get written about in the newspaper and on TV. And there's just, if you really want to succeed and get out there, you need to get out of your house and out of your and I'm an introvert, so I get it. So many authors are not comfortable doing that, and I the more I do it, the more comfortable I am. But I'm still not super fond of selling my book, but you have to, because nobody else is going to sell your book. I mean,
Right.
It's your book. It's your baby. You wrote it. If you think it's truly a book that is amazing, then get out there and get it in front of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And folks, you need to understand too that even if you're with a traditional publishing company, even if you're with one of the big, really big publishing companies, you may have a marketing person assigned to you when the book launches, but that person might work with you for a week or 2 weeks, and that's it. After that, you're on your own. I can't tell you how many times, a marketing person has reached out to me, and, we have a long time typically between the time we record an interview and the time it gets published. That can be 2 or 3 weeks, and there's even more time from the time that the interview is scheduled. I can't tell you how many times one of these big giant publishing houses reaches out to me. They set up an interview, and then a month and a half later, when the author finally comes on, they're kind of like, yeah, I'm all by myself now. I haven't heard from that person in a long time. So you really need to, if you want to write a book, that's awesome. But if you just want to sit down and be the artiste and not have to worry about the business end of it, well, that ain't gonna work for you.
Well, it can work for you if you don't expect to, if you expect to shovel out thousands of dollars and you're okay with that, and if you're doing it just because you always wanted to hold your book in your hand and you think it's fun, that's fine, but that's your money,
Right.
but if you expect to, make your money back or even make a profit, then it becomes a business, and then you have to look at it in a different set of eyes. Like, this is not my hobby anymore. I love it. I love writing. Of course I love picking up my books at the printer and being like, wow, this has my name on it. This is so cool. But, this is my business. I mean, it's a business for me now, and that's how I have to look at it.
One of the things that you mentioned, you talked about getting out there to the media, and you mentioned local media. I think a lot of people have the impression if I don't get on a network show, then it really isn't going to help me at all. I need to get on the Kelly and Michael show or whoever the morning show, and those would be wonderful. But talk a little bit about the value of just having the local weekly newspaper do a write up about you.
Yeah, I think any type of media, it gets your name out there. Number one, you can be reaching audiences that, obviously, people that have never heard of you, if they get the newspaper, they're going to be like, oh, wow, look at this children's author is a teacher, and she's from the Minneapolis area. I've never heard of her. I'm going to go check her books out, or I'm going to check her Kickstarter out. And then all of a sudden you have a fan that you never knew, that you've never met before, because you had this write-up. Another benefit, in my opinion, of just being on a local television or a newspaper is that I can use that for marketing. Mm-hmm. So, like, for example, yesterday I was on a local cable TV show. Now, this is not your Channel 4, ABC, CBS News or whatever. It's not like a huge network, but it's the North Metro cable TV. And how many people are going to see that in the Anoka County area? I'm not sure, but I'm going to, that I'm going to take that link and I'm going to put that on my author site sometime during my Kickstarter campaign, and people are going to be like, wow, you were on TV. Like, they kind of sit up and take notice that you were either written about or you were on TV. It kind of makes you, kind of makes you a little bit more notorious, I guess, or more, they take you more serious as an artist because you're taking that extra step to be heard on TV or to be written about in the newspaper.
Yeah, all that publicity gives you credibility. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it's, I've been performing my educational magic shows for decades now. And early on, the little newspaper article that was written in the weekly newspaper, boy, I made loads and loads of copies of that thing and folded them up and put them in envelopes and sent them out to school principals and librarians. And it's just, that's, and one builds on another and another, and it just kind of grows and snowballs.
Yeah.
What about logistically finding a printer to take care of a book? Must have been a bit daunting for you.
So, yeah, all these decisions were daunting for me since I didn't know anything about this. So what happened with me is when I first started doing this, I reached out to my family and friends and I said, hey, does anybody know anyone that's published a book? Because like I said, after I wrote the Cami Kangaroo Has Too Many Sweets, after I wrote the first draft of the text of that, I had no idea what to do next. So my sister actually had gone to high school with somebody whose wife had just written a book. So I contacted her and she was super nice and we met for breakfast and she told me that she uses this company here in Minnesota called Bang Printing. So, and I know a lot of authors use companies in China and that's totally fine. I checked out Bang Printing because they're 2 hours away. So, and I got to go there and watch my books being printed, which was a really, really neat experience.
Wow.
So the prices for me for Bang Printing are the same as the prices for people printing from China because I don't have to pay any shipping fees. So I contacted Bang and my illustrator, this is her first book too. So neither of us knew what we were doing. So I contacted Bang and I got a rep assigned to me. And she walked us through the process. She sent out, there's all these decisions you have to make that you don't think about. What size do you want your book? Do you want your book to be a square or a rectangle? Do you want your book to be matte or gloss? Do you want the cover to be matte or gloss? Do you want the pages to be matte or gloss? How thick do you want the pages? What kind of binding do you want? I had no idea any of these. I had no idea about any of that stuff. Mm-hmm. So they sent me samples of paper. I looked at books at the library. I actually talked to librarians and asked them their opinions. And as a teacher, I've read probably thousands of children's books. So I kind of knew I wanted a square book. And then, I got the quote from them and they started the whole process. It takes about 6 weeks or 6 or 7 weeks to, print the books from the moment that you send them the check for the first half to the end of the process.
Wow. And like you said, the ability to go and watch your book being printed and not for nothing, the ability to communicate with somebody clearly. Mm-hmm. And, that's, invaluable. Again, if someone wants to have their book printed in India or China, we love reaching out to the poor. We've had kids from China living with us, but it's difficult, and there are language and issues, and it's incredible that you can get your book published at the same fee because you don't have those incredible shipping charges.
Right, and I am honestly proud to say that my books are printed in the United States, in Minnesota.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right where they make My Pillows. That's awesome.
Yeah. Exactly. Get your book and your pillow in the same day.
So let's get back to your current Kickstarter. What's your goal for this new project?
Oh gosh. Okay. So I told you a little bit about my first one and how my goal was to raise the $4,000. So then after that 30 days of stress, I decided I'm never doing a Kickstarter again. So then last year I did another one for my second book, which was Cami Kangaroo Has Too Much Stuff. Now, some people are like, oh, why do you keep doing these Kickstarters? Like, it's a lot of work. And yes, it's a lot of work for 30 days, but I do it for several reasons. One, obviously, is to raise the funding I need to print the books. I'm not making a profit yet. If you think about small businesses, if people start their own businesses, it usually takes, 3 to 5 years before you can turn a profit. And I've been doing it for 2.5 years now. So I'm not making enough money to spend $10,000 creating a book yet. Mm-hmm. So when I do, then I don't have to do a Kickstarter again. The second reason why I do the Kickstarter is because I think it's a great way to get my book out there, and into people's hands. Mm-hmm. And people can basically pre-order the book, and in turn I can use that money that they send me for pre-ordering, I can use that to print the book then. Mm-hmm. So last year when I did the Cami Kangaroo Has Too Much Stuff, I decided, you know what? I went for way too less money. I'm going to go for $8,000 this time because that will truly cover all of my costs. So it was much more difficult. I didn't do it in 8 days. It actually took almost the whole, I think I had like 3 days left at the end or something when I made my goal, but I did it. And I actually ended up with $9,000. So that covered illustrations, printing. Kickstarter takes 8% for fees for your project. And then of course there's taxes and all that too. So then this year I decided, okay, I'm going to do it again because, I don't know why. No, just kidding. I need to raise the money for this book. So, it's different. I haven't really decided on what I'm going to go for yet because, prices have gone up. My illustrations have gone up in price. The printing has gone up in price. Kickstarter is still taking their fee. Marketing that I'm paying for and the editing and all that. So I kind of have to still sit down and add it all up and decide. It'll be at least 8,000. It will probably be a little bit more so I can truly cover all the costs.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm happy with the way able to have this conversation because you're kind of outlining all the different things that an author has to take into consideration, whether they're publishing it, with the money that they have in their bank account or if they're going the Kickstarter route or crowdfunding route. You definitely, you need to think about these different things because it's a lot. And, you wouldn't start building a house, or a smart person wouldn't start building a house without a plan.
Right, exactly. And a lot of authors do. I mean, like I said before, when I first went into it, I didn't think about it, but I'm, so frugal and, cheap that I thought it costs money to even run your website. It costs money to, I run ads on Facebook and Instagram. That's costs money. It costs money to run ads on Amazon. Everything costs money. Almost everything that you do as an author to get your bookmarks made, to get your business cards made. You don't think about all of that when you first start out, but once you start, I always tell people, do your research, get on these. There's some really good Facebook groups out there with authors, and once you start poking around and asking people questions, you really find out how much time and money you have to put into it to get your book published and actually sell your book too, if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah. And, one of the things that I'm hearing, you're not saying it specifically, but I'm hearing it in your voice and in your enthusiasm. Even though you're very quick to admit, I'm not making a profit yet. And there's a lot of work to this, and it's a lot more work than I thought. And I just wanted to write a kid's book, and I just thought of myself as a writer, and now I got all this other kind of stuff. It doesn't sound like you regret it. It sounds like you are enjoying the journey.
I actually like it. I love it. And in my blog, I blogged about marketing and how if you would have told me 10 years ago I would be marketing and I would like it, I would have been like, yeah, okay. Because, I've never sold anything or thought of myself in any capacity to be a business person, but I do really like it. I don't know. It's just really exciting learning new ways to market my book and to see people reading it and kids enjoying it and bringing it to schools and doing author visits and doing author signings and meeting people. And it's just been so fun. It is a lot of work, and I've been lucky where last year I was teaching full time and doing this, and that was just really hard. Like I would teach all day, pick up my kids from daycare, come home, they'd be up till 8, put them to bed, and then I spend the next 2 hours working on marketing my books, and then, wave to my husband whenever saw me, and then go to bed and start the whole thing the next day. And then this year, my husband had actually talked about how, if you want to really make a go at this author thing, just take a leave from teaching and take the year off. And so I did. I took a leave. With teaching, you can take up to a 5-year leave and still have a place in the district in Minnesota here. So I took this year off, and so this year I'm lucky I can focus 100% on this book thing. And that's what I work on all day. I mean, I'm emailing principals. I'm emailing local news people. I'm, doing podcasts, going on TV. I'm working on planning my Kickstarter. I'm writing my next book. I'm contacting my illustrator. I mean, every day there's lists of things that I'm doing to further this, series that I'm working on here.
Well, we'd be very poor marketers if we didn't take time to let everybody know where they can go online to connect more with Stacy Bauer and find out more about Cami, Kangaroo, and Wyatt too.
Sure. So it's my username, my handle for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and my website is all the same. It's Stacy, Stacy C Bauer, Bauer, because Stacy Bauer is kind of a common name, so I put my middle initial in there. So if you go on my website, stacycbauer.com, there's a pop-up that comes up that says, hey, if you subscribe, if you sign up right here, you'll be the first to find out about my Kickstarter and you'll get a special deal. So what I do for my Kickstarter is anybody who subscribes to my website, I'm going to send out an email early morning on February 4th, and you will have first chance to get a hardcover, one of my new hardcover books for 20% off of what everybody else will be paying for it. So if you're interested in that, then and go on my website and sign up for that. And I always tell people, check your junk mail, because people say, I never got your email, but sometimes it goes to the junk mail folder.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things I love about crowdfunding, and we did this, our family's been doing this for a long time, and especially with kids, it's, when the project is successful and you get that CD or that book in your hand, your kids can know that they were a part of making it happen. That they had a hand in making this come to life. Right. And whether it's a music from an independent artist that your kids really love, or an author, or a story that they really love, that's really special, and it stays with them for a long time.
Exactly. It's like buying a book from a local bookstore too. I mean, you go to the local bookstore and there's a book from a local author that's autographed, and you buy that. I mean, it's very special. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, we've had a great time speaking today about the business of books and about the business of being a self-published author, and also learning a little bit about Cami, Kangaroo, and Wyatt too. We've been speaking to Stacy C Bauer. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We have 3 amazing guests joining us. Kirsten Brewer-Gant will be with us to celebrate her brand new picture book. And then we'll be joined by grandmother and granddaughter team, Deb and Sienna Lucero, talking about their wonderful book. That's the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Hey, if you're the author of a fantastic children's book, especially if you're the independent author of a fantastic children's book, like Stacy, you might not have as much hair on your head as you had when you first wrote the book. Because when you received that first copy of the book, that author's copy in your hand, and you were so excited, that also probably came with this invisible marketing director hat that you didn't know that was coming. And so you've probably been pulling out your hair going, how can I let the world know about my book? How can I let parents know that they should check out my book? Well, we have a great program that's going to help you do that. That's going to help your book stand out from the crowd of books that are published every single month. It's called the Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read Program. And it really is a fantastic book, and I'm so proud of how much it's helped so many different authors. Lori Olinsky, she's a 2-time Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read author. She recently wrote, the Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read Program has really given me more credibility as an author, especially when I'm pitching my books to stores, libraries, and even media outlets. You really need something when you're calling on a store, when you're calling your local TV or station or newspaper. You need to let them know that you have a serious book here. It's not just something that you, as we would have said back when I was going to school, mimeograph down in your basement. That it really is a professionally produced and critically acclaimed book. You can learn more about our Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program at our website, readingwithyourkids.com. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Stacy C Bauer, our fantastic guest. Please be sure to check out Cami, Kangaroo, and Wyatt too. We also want to thank our sponsor, Books.com, VOOKS.com. It's a fantastic service. I want to thank my amazing producer, Fatima Khan. Please be sure to check out her blog at readingwithyourkids.com. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, Thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.